Thank you.
Of course, I don't want you to say anything crazy.
You guys say anything in the background though?
No, you're good. I already hit record,
All right.
Matt. That's why I warned you. I said, Matt, I'm going to hit record now. Don't say anything
Well,
crazy.
I didn't ask before, so.
I know. Everybody, welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark. I am your host, Joel Park. Ben is unable to make it. He is on another continent in a different time zone on maybe 3G, is what it sounds like, and not good Wi-Fi. So on deck today, we have a man who needs no introduction, Matt Hopkins.
Tyler Turner. Oh. Hi, everybody.
And Tyler Turner.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. Well, it's going to be a bang-up podcast already, I can tell. We're off to a good start. You just get Matt to stop multitasking.
I'm trying to find a topic.
Oh, all right. Carry on then. Okay, yeah, you guys all know the format. Everybody brings a topic to talk about. Something makes you angry, something you did, show and tell, whatever. Who would like to go first? Tyler, you didn't tell me I know you have a topic, but you did not tell me what it is.
That's a surprise.
Well, surprise me now. I want to know.
I guess now's the time. So I wanted to talk about the concept of style, a shooting style. It's something that on Training Group, you hear Ben talk about a lot. And I guess we should define it first. It seems to be distinct from fundamentals. But if you look at top guys, well, if you look at any shooter, but let's use top guys as an example. If you watch YouTube videos, if you watch guys on Facebook, we all understand that top guys are all very similar in terms of fundamentals. But if you watch two guys shoot back to back, or if you have an overlay or something like that, you can say about their shooting that they have distinctly different styles, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I know what a lot of guys do. I did it. Most new people, I would say, probably do it, is they adopt a style. They mimic a shooter's style. And I think that's really helpful when you're starting out, because even though it's not really connected to fundamentals, if you're mimicking someone, you can't help but pick up, and then through mimicry have good fundamentals, or at least you're working towards that, right? So if you see a guy stylistically like start breaking into a position and then end up wide and square to the target and the gun up, if you mimic that, you're mimicking style, but you're also mimicking good fundamentals, right? Yeah. So
and I guess not to put words in your mouth, and you're saying you pick up somebody's style probably by watching them on YouTube or Instagram or like social media, right?
Exactly. You're going to watch those guys, and then probably in your training and practice, you're going to do what they do. You're going to make your shooting or your movement look like a particular person's style, or a blending of styles. And so I wanted to ask you guys if that's something you did coming up. Is that something you still do, like as part of your training? If you are working on something new, do you, if you watch Nils's video, are you ever incorporating something you're seeing, something you see he does that is different from your own style? And let's talk about the kind of utility that you've seen from that in your own shooting, if any.
Yeah, well, that's pretty interesting. Matt, you want to go first, or me?
I don't know. I think the two main styles are what? The hosers and turtles, right? That's what everybody talks about.
I think
sure. But there's also in betweens. Like there's other styles though too.
I'm like, talking about
how somebody runs, or you think about, mention names. Think about Alex Goot. The guy draws the gun crazy fast. He loads the gun crazy fast. I'm watching him on Instagram thinking like, holy crap, I want to be able to do reloads like he does. You know what I mean?
I'm kind of thinking like beyond hoser turtle, because that's its own thing. I'm talking about like if you watch JJ or Grafel,
or like Wansik, the way Wansik moves.
Yes, yeah, he has a very distinctive style. That's a really good example.
Yes,
and I'll tell you, like, I never thought about pumping my arm like to accelerate until I
Mhm.
saw Hwanzik doing it. I'll
Mhm.
tell you another thing. Like I never started grunting like from effort until I heard and saw Ben doing it.
Mhm.
And guess what? Like when guys start to do something, start adopting a particular style, you see it mimicked at matches that you go to.
Mhm.
I've seen that. So um, I've adopted. I've watched videos and then said I like that. That looks good. And sometimes that's all it takes is that just looks good. That guy looks cool doing that
Yes.
one thing.
So
And I
instead of like a overarching style, it's more like a kind of you're mimicking the technique of something, like the
mhm,
style of the technique.
Well, let me give you an example. I remember back in the day. I mean, of course, I've been around shooting a while. I remember I don't like dropping names, but I'm okay doing it within a good way. I think about watching Blake Miguez the first time I watch him shoot, and I'm like, is he shooting one target or are there transitions? I'm like, holy crap! Like I want to do that. Like
yeah.
he's shooting all those targets, and he's just like transitioning the gun in between. And it sounds like a bill drill when he's shooting 3 targets. I'm like, holy! Like I want to do that. So yeah, totally. Like I see somebody do that. And then I'm like, man, can I do that in practice? Or you watch,
hmm
like I said earlier, you watch like Alex Goot and like, holy crap, look how fast this guy loads the gun. I want to do that. Can I do that in practice? Or you watch like Kim, he's always staying so low. I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could do that. That seems like him coming in the position really low. That's making him more stable. He's shooting sooner. Or then you watch, I mean, we dropped Ben's name enough since he's not here. You look at Ben, I'm like, Ben sometimes he doesn't even look that fast. He's just like, he doesn't waste any time. He's
hmm
always shooting and he doesn't make any mistakes. I'm like, oh, I wish I could do that too. So then you're just picking pieces from all these different people. Yeah, like totally what you're saying. And that's what makes up, I think, your shooting style.
Yeah. And I
I
think
think it
it's
also
some.
go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Tyler.
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, I think it also depends on kind of what like you're working on at the time. Like you're not going to pick up trying to be low and like Kwanzaa if you're trying to just get super fast at something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Or you're like kind of picking something specific at that time. And then that's going to blend into what you currently are already doing. And then once you learn that, and then what's your next step, like it's going to progress. Like I think it'd be hard to say if there's going to be like one type overall because like you're going to be blending stuff that you've seen throughout your whole career.
Well, and I
Right.
think, I keep just dropping names all over the place, but I can think of Mason Lane saying that he studied moving like a lot like Max Michel because of a similar body type. And
Yeah.
I see that totally too, where it's like, hey, you're the super tall dude. I'm going to find somebody else that's super tall and mimic the way they run. Or, hey, I'm a shorter guy, so I'm going to find somebody else short because my body, like, I could not do some of the things Wanzik does. I'm just not built like him. So maybe I find somebody with my same, like, frame or structure or height. And then, hey, what does that guy do? I'll try doing that.
Yeah.
But for the
And
most part, go ahead, sorry.
I think that's a really good point as well. Like you could, if you're a tall guy, watching tall guys is really helpful. Like I had a buddy one time, and I told him like go watch Nils videos. Like everything on
Yeah.
YouTube with Nils, like please go watch his videos because you have the same frame, you have the same like stride. Like
Mhm.
you can make in one stride what it takes me to. I think that's a really smart idea. And to your point, Matt, I think at the end, especially as you progress, especially as you have tested these things under a timer, you learn, sort of how style corresponds to time and efficiencies, and it's all this blending, and then one day you have your own shooting style. But I think it's really
Mhm.
worth it to use that as part of your training paradigm to test stuff. Like if you're ever at a loss, I'll put it to you this way, maybe see if you agree. Like maybe you're at a plateau, maybe you're stuck on something, maybe you're having a bad time, you're just hating life. Um, why don't you just go out and pretend for a training session, maybe a week of training sessions? Like, I'm going to shoot like this guy. I'm going to act as if I were this guy, mimic him. And I
Mhm.
bet you'll learn something. In
That's a
fact,
pretty interesting
I
thought.
know you'll learn something.
Yeah, I like
That,
that.
that
I
is
like
actually
that a
very
lot.
interesting. Yeah. I never quite heard the thought put that way. I do like that. But what I was thinking about, I mean, it's a little bit of a different subject, but when I started shooting, I remember what started like the second time being serious. I remember just like, okay, well, if one of the top guys do, and I look on YouTube, like YouTube, I'm looking at just at a general, like, holy crap, the way this guy snatched the gun out of the holster, he's shooting fast, the gun's up. You know, and I'm coming from my turtle side where I just kind of like maybe mosey or like jog around. I'm like, oh, that guy's not moseying. He's running really hard. Oh, that he's really shooting fast. Oh, that target, it doesn't look like that target's at 25 yards, and he's still shooting it really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned a lot from video just seeing the concepts of what people could do.
Yeah.
Because for me personally, if Matt said, oh yeah, I draw to a 25-yard target and I can split a 15 on it and it'll be alphas, I'm like, okay, like that doesn't really mean much to me. But then if I watch a video of somebody, then like they're drawing the gun, I see them grip the gun really hard and they shoot really quick and it's like 2 out, I'm like, oh, well, that's a lot different to me than Matt giving me his draw numbers and his split numbers. I'm like, that doesn't mean as much to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just realized what my topic is.
Tell me.
And if we're done with this one, it'll lead into
Yeah.
this right now.
We're
So,
good.
is there a super squad effect to the shooters on the super squad? And, like, what do you guys think on that? So, shooting with the better shooter or shooting with probably the best shooters of the day or the match on that squad, and does that affect? Is it bring people's skill up to a certain level, down, or what do you guys think on something like that?
Tyler? Let's put Tyler up first.
Okay.
To plug Training Group, Ben and I interviewed Tyler for Training Group, and I asked him some of those similar questions. So this was Tyler's first year on the Super Squad. Tyler, for those who would not be familiar, I remember it very well. I was sitting at work. I was checking the squatting. I'm like, oh, I wonder if people have moved around. You know, who's on this squad? And I like look at the Super Squad. I'm like, oh, this is Tyler Turner, guys. And I like Tyler, so I messaged Tyler like, dude, like you're on the Super Squad. Congratulations. And Tyler messaged me back like, huh? What? And I'm like, yes, you're on the Super Squad. Really? Yes.
Tyler, would you have known if he hadn't told you?
No. I would have shown up and gone to my squad with my guys, and wouldn't have known until they read the roll from the book, from the device.
And they're like, who is this Tyler Turner and why is he on the bay?
Yeah.
And so what was your feeling then when I told you that?
Oh, it was I don't know, disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
Like not that I thought you were lying. It's just like, you know, I don't know how to process that. So
so like to get to Matt's question, I guess, would you say it helped or hurt your match, or it wouldn't have mattered, you being in proximity to the top guys there?
No, I think my performance was raised. Is that correct grammar?
Mm-hmm.
My performance was better.
Rose? Raise?
It was better being in proximity to top guys. I believe in that effect. I think it's a real thing, and it doesn't necessarily have to be super squad. Like if you squad with better people, you get better performance out of yourself. It's the rising tide raises all boats, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Well, like, I mean, for many years, Matt has been my nemesis that I actually like. But I'm like, anytime I go to a match, like if Matt's the guy, I really want to beat Matt. I've wanted to beat Matt for years. So I'm like, if I could squad with the guys that I want to be like, or the top guys, absolutely, it's going to make you better. And to some level, I mean, yeah, there is more pressure because, I mean, yeah, I want to be one of the top guys. I want to win this match or my division. But also, I mean, that pressure also comes from you investing more yourself in shooting and you caring more. So if you really care, I think you're going to have pressure regardless of who you're squatted with.
Okay. I agree with everything. I think it raises the shooters, I wouldn't say base level. I think just being on the squad, you see what's like able to be done. The whole 4-minute mile thing, right, comes to mind. No one could do it. It was impossible till someone did it. Then it was broke like a bunch of times after that.
Yeah.
What do you think about the other way? If you're probably the best shooter on a squad, do you think your skill level would go down? So kind of the opposite. So you're squatted with better, raises it. We all agree on that. Now, if you're squatted with I wouldn't say equal. I would say, I guess in our level, like if we're all GMs and if we squad with a bunch of B, C, D class shooters, do you think your performance goes down then?
I think it's probably I think that is more driven by or more affected by individual tendencies, individual psychology, but generally I would say I think your performance goes up and down, or it can, based on who you're with, what your eyes are seeing. um, yeah, I think I think it can't help but be affected by who you're around and what you're watching with your own eyes.
Yeah, I think you should be shooting to your level or close to it, regardless of who you're squatted with. So if I'm squatted with Ben, Matt, Tyler, all these guys, Kim, and Eric Raffel's in our squad, maybe Vogel, like I've got all these guys. Of course, I mean I'm gonna want to like rise the occasion and do as well as those guys do. But my shooting should not be 10% different than if I'm in that squad and the next match I'm in a bunch of C and D class shooters that maybe just got started. It's their third match, like me squatting with people that it's their second match ever, there should not be, I don't think, a huge swing from being with like an elite super squad. Mm-hmm. I think it would help you. So when I have the choice of squatting for matches, of course I always want to squad with the heavy hitters, but it shouldn't make or break your match if you're not squatted with the heavy hitters. The other thing I like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Tyler.
No, go ahead.
Is it gives me real-time feedback for how I'm doing. So that's why even like squatting with, once in a while I'll squat like at my club with my friend Kenny or my friend Cody. So it's like I do some drill and I get a time. And it's like, okay, that was 5 seconds with one Charlie. I'm like, well, it felt pretty fast. I don't look in the video, it's pretty fast. But then I watch like Cody or Kenny and they're shredding on it. Well, what's their time? Oh, they're about the same time. Okay, that was, I guess, legit pretty fast. Or maybe one of them goes and they shred it harder and they're at high fours. Like, oh, well, I thought I was pretty fast, but those guys are faster. So I've been to matches before. I will say I don't trust my ability to like throttle up, throttle down, or read. I need to just shoot it. Like that's my plan, is just shoot the stages. But it would be nice to know like how I compare to Matt. So if I'm in a different squad than Matt, I'll maybe be like, well, I don't know. I think I'm shooting pretty fast. And then I look at the results and Matt was 10 seconds faster than I was. I was like, oh, well, I wasn't going as fast as I thought I was. So I think just having that like comparison in real time to see how you stack up is good also. And maybe not that I would shoot faster or slower based on that, but I think there is value to seeing that like right in front of your eyes and knowing how you stack up.
Yeah. I think you have a certain range of you have highs and lows, but it's like any other curve. Like the majority of your performance throughout a match should be close to the mean, right? Mm-hmm. You have highs or lows. I think the difference between what we're talking about, shooting down to the level of competition versus shooting up to the level of your competition, I think the difference in, if we're going to call it the super squad effect, shooting up to the level of competition, is it just shifts the curve a little bit farther down the axis. Like I think it unlocks just a little bit extra because everyone's everyone's on afterburners basically.
Yeah, like feeding off that energy or whatever you call it.
Squatted with less shooters, it just slides access to the left. Like I'd like to say that I perform the same no matter who's on the squad, but I've noticed it where if I'm with lesser shooters, like lesser skilled shooters, it's kind of like you kind of get complacent because you're doing so much better than them.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could see on it.
And in some cases, it's like the hit factor or match points reality. Like if you're with a bunch of guys and it's been a disaster all day, or like we're coming into the last couple stages, and you have a 150 point lead at a club match, like you just don't have to do as much. You don't have to do your max to win, or to even if you're already double digit % ahead, you just don't have to do more.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You could take your foot off the gas.
Yeah.
True.
Coasting.
Yeah,
I like it.
that's good. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good topic.
That's an interesting topic. Not thought about it. Okay. My topic is I've just started up dry fire pretty seriously in the last week. I just had some warnings for, I don't know, maybe people starting back up. Maybe somebody listened to this in the middle of the season, but some things to be careful of or pay extra attention to in dry fire. So the first thing I noticed when I start up dry fire is lack of grip strength for me personally, and I can't grip the gun. I know what it feels like to grip the gun hard. In my first dry fire session, after not doing it for 3 months, I'm holding on the gun. I'm like, oh, like I know I need to be holding on to the gun harder, but this is about it for now. And then,
It
as you use
hurts.
those muscles, yeah,
It hurts so much.
as you use those muscles more, obviously that builds up. And then I notice my hands just get tired faster. It's like, holy crap, like this is 15 minutes of dry fire. My hands are smoked.
Yeah.
So the thing I think that people need to realize is that dry fire is shooting, but without ammo. So sometimes you train with ammo, sometimes you train without ammo, but regardless, you need to be holding the gun hard and gripping the gun properly, just like you would be shooting ammo. And I think people miss the boat on that in dry fire. And then you can tell that shows up because then when you go to the range and you start shooting live ammo, the gun's flying all over and they're not hanging on to it. And it's like, well, you're going to do in live fire what you've trained to do yourself in dry fire. So I would say make sure you're gripping the gun hard and gripping it properly like you were shooting live ammo. Another thing is don't cheat the sights and create bad mistakes. So you can train yourself to be better or worse in dry fire, and that's just the reality of it. So when you're dry firing, you need to be really careful about paying attention to what the sights do and be honest with yourself about what you see. Because if you cheat yourself and like, hey, I did a 2-second El Pres, like that was amazing, but in reality, you weren't really pointing at the target. It's like no one really cares, and maybe it'd look okay on Instagram, but you need to be really honest about what you're seeing with the sights and realizing that you're creating habits that will carry over when you start shooting live ammo. So I think that's really important. And then I would also say, like, don't do things incorrectly just to be a part-time. So you see a drill, it's easy to pick out, like 4 aces is an easy one for everyone to imagine. So you draw the gun, you shoot 2 shots, you load the gun and shoot 2 more shots. And you see people maybe on Instagram, they draw the gun fast, they barely get the gun to maybe extension, and they're already bringing the gun back, they're loading the gun, and maybe the gun's almost back out, and they're already pressing the trigger again. It's like, if that was live ammo, where would those bullets have really went? And I understand that you're going to round the corners, and you're going to make mistakes as you gain for speed, and that's okay, that's not what I'm talking about. But be honest about what you're seeing. So if you want to do a couple like crazy runs for Instagram or whatever, that's cool. But the bulk of your training, you need to be really careful about, making sure that you're creating habits that you want to have when you go to the range and that you're shooting live ammo. I'll say my own experience. I trained myself to be a hoser. Like I just focused on speed. Like I don't care what the sights do. I'm gonna get speed, and I got fast. But I started shooting Charlies and Deltas like crazy, and then I had to learn to reel that back in. Just because at the time what I thought I was seeing isn't what I was really seeing, and I was not being careful because at the time all I cared about was just going fast. So I guess this the last thought is, if you have any questions or not sure what you're doing, validate it in live fire. So you do dry fire 4 aces or El Pres or whatever you're doing, then get some ammo, go to the range if you can, when it gets nicer or if it's an indoor range, just shoot a bit and make sure like the bullets are going where you want them to. And you should be doing that throughout your season if you can, where you think of dry fire as the test and practice being reverse that. Dry fire is practice and live fire is the test. So you're validating that you're doing things correctly.
Makes
Cool.
sense.
All right.
I'm in the same boat. I only started my serious dry fire this week as well, and I ran into the same problems. Like, you can't pick up where you left off. Last season,
Not right away.
Not right away. You have to ease into it. If you last worked out, 6 months ago and you were squatting 400 pounds, like if you put 400 on the bar, you're going to have a bad day.
Yeah.
Same thing with this, which I kind of learned the hard way. Like I had a marathon session and I don't have a lot of skin left on a particular part of my palm, my support hand here. So you got to ease into it.
Yeah.
And it's early.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'm easing into it also. But I mean, after even a week, I've got it feels like twice as much grip strength as when I started, and that it comes back very quickly. But that's just something to be aware of. So okay.
Well, I have one more comment,
Yeah.
and it relates to something you were saying, like, just racing part times. I will say this, and it's not to contradict you, it's to complement what you said. There's a time and a place to race part times, but
100%.
and this is the thing, like, you have to call it. You have to know what you're doing. Like, if you are struggling, if you are a turtle and you're struggling to meet a part time, you've never met the 4 aces part time. Let's say, like, you have to be able to meet the part time. And if it requires you not seeing the sights, and if it requires you, just flinging the gun out of there and snap, your index is all off, like, at some point you will have to do that. Like, you will have to meet the part time if you want to succeed. But you just have to call it in advance, know that's what you're doing, know that your technique is going to be off. That can't be normal for you. That cannot be your baseline or your go-to, because you're gonna have problems. But there's a time and place.
Tyler, I like having you around. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. That's because, yeah, totally. Like, if I'm a turtle and I want to break that, like, I had to come to the conclusion there's going to be some misses when I get out of this hole I'm in. Like, it's just going to happen. But I also, like, that going into it. So, yeah, you go to the range, you just match a sound, or you make a time, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're a turtle perfectionist at all, like me, like, your default way of practicing, you'll be super comfortable doing the 4 aces par at 2.5 seconds with a perfect sight picture, a perfect reload, a perfect index, but you're never going to grow doing that. And I didn't grow until I, started accepting those kind of mistakes in dry fire. It's just something you have to do.
I like it. Well, guys, should we do a question?
Let's do a question.
Yeah.
Matt, I need you to actually focus. No more.
Okay.
This is a good.
I'll
This is a
set my
serious
phone
question.
down.
Oh, I'm
Probably
impressed.
goddamn gear question.
No. This is a doubles question, so you got to pay attention.
Okay.
This is a good question. Okay. Hey, Ben, I noticed something while doing the doubles drill that might explain people's individual taste towards certain guns. I was always under the impression the gun lifts after the shot leaves the barrel. This lift goes in a direction dependent on the shooter's grip, then returns back to the original position. However, I noticed that the gun oscillates during the recoil motion. For example, if we're tracking the end of my Glock 26 during its recoil motion, it hits 1 o'clock with 14 splits, but it hits 7 o'clock with 20 splits. Are there certain optimal zones where I can place doubles right on top of each other? He has in quotes 18s and anything after the 26s. Is there any validity to this observation? If so, should I learn how to time all the doubles so all my shots fall in the first available of optimal split times he's outlined? Essentially, I won't be respecting the targets, trusting that my doubles will be within an A zone of each other, 25 yards, blah, blah, blah. That's basically the end of it. So there's a lot going on there, so we can kind of break it down. We got the gist of his question. So I guess let's start from the top. I mean, everybody knows what the double drill is by now. So it's about shooting pairs of shots. You hold the gun on target, you press the trigger. It's like bam, bam. You pause, bam, bam, pause, bam, bam. The goal of the drill is working on your grip, right? And learning where shots go as you shoot pairs. So his first statement. So I like if this guy's paying attention, by the way. I guess I'll start with that. He's training and he's paying attention. That this is very good. He's noticing where shots are going, what he has to do to make shots go where they are. And so he's got some questions because he's paying attention. Okay. So I was always under the assumption the gun lifts after the shot leaves the barrel, which obviously isn't true. This lift goes in the direction dependent on the shooter's grip, then returns back to the original position. So that's correct, right? Thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I think it starts recoiling when the slide hits the frame.
You are correct. Yes.
All
So
the
yeah, we
slow-mo
watched slow
video
motion
shows
video.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's gone. So anyway, not talking about that, but he's talking about. So his first point is the lift goes in the direction dependent of the shooter's grip, then returns back to the original position, which is correct. So maybe depending on if you have more or less firing hand, support hand, the gun might recoil up and to the left, up and to the right. Does that make sense? Okay. Go ahead, Tyler.
I believe what this guy's saying is he's saying in recoil, under recoil, the gun oscillates. And he's asking us, if I'm interpreting correctly, can he time his splits such that he can stack bullets on top of each other by timing the oscillation of the gun? But
Yes.
Here's the bad news. The purpose of doubles is not to learn to time, I believe what he's saying is if I shoot 15 splits on demand, they'll be on top of each other. And if I shoot 20 splits, they'll be like this or this or whatever.
But then later he says if you slow back down to 26, they're all back on top of each other, which would be like the equivalent of slowing down and getting your hits, which that's just like not an acceptable answer.
He's asking us if he can, or if he should time the oscillation to get precise shots. But the purpose of doubles is to eliminate that oscillation.
Yes.
The purpose is to train yourself so that your grip and the way you lock your wrists and everything else involved in recoil control, the purpose is to train yourself to make the gun track like this and eliminate the oscillation.
Yes.
So I think he's on the right track. You're right. He's paying attention.
Yes.
He's a smart guy, obviously. But I think his misconception is learning to time splits for whatever idiosyncrasies of his recoil control is happening instead of eliminating the factors that are causing this effect.
Yes. And then, he talks, I know you guys don't have it in front of you, so I'll kind of read through a little bit of it again. But he says, notice the gun oscillates during the recoil motion. For example, it hits 1 o'clock with 14 splits, but it hits 7 o'clock with 20 splits. So, I mean, what I would say to this, I would be interested where he's getting his his numbers from and stuff. But the difference between, let's see, a 14 and a 20, I mean, you don't have a dial when you're shooting. So it's not like, hey, I'm going to shoot some 13s now. And you turn the dial to that, and I'll crank out some 13s. And then it's like, no, 13 was good. I think I'll do a 15 here. Right?
I think you absolutely can do that.
Within 200s, you can?
I think, yeah. I think you can shoot 20s or 15s. Like, you can modulate that speed.
Okay.
I've done it.
I suppose.
I've done it on doubles. Like, you can't do it at 25 yards, but if you're up in 7 yards, you can do it.
Well, I think what the point I was getting at was he's too worried about the numbers for, like what Tyler's saying. I think he's too worried about this is a 13 split and this is a 20 split. Whereas I think, what I've learned from training group, to plug that a little bit, and then I also do, my friend Gerald and I do classes. And one of the things we always do is we use slow motion video, especially at our core skills, which is grip and trigger control. And when you video somebody's grip just from the side, and you want to have the side of their support hand, so you can see if their hands separate or not, and you basically watch what the muzzle does. And like what Tyler's saying, you want the gun he's getting a lot of muzzle oscillation. So at the end of the muzzle, it's bouncing up and down a lot. And so there are things that you do that causes that. One of the main things would be too much firing hand tension will cause that muzzle to oscillate a lot at the end. So by watching slow motion video, the whole purpose of the drill is perfecting your grip. So by watching your shooting in slow motion, then let's say maybe you watch very carefully. So when I watch it, I'll watch it a few different times. And let's say the first time I watch just
Joel dropped out on us. There he is.
Did I drop out on you?
You just cut off on the last.
Yeah, you froze a little bit.
Uh-oh. I don't know where did I stop at?
Oscillation.
Okay. So did I tell you about slow motion video?
That's what you were on.
Okay. So let's say you watch the video, and the only thing I care about is watching the front sight. That's it. Nothing else even matters. So I watch the front sight, And as I fire the first shot of each pair, the front sight dips down just a little bit. Not very much, just a little bit. Then you look at the target, like, oh, guess what? Well, the bullet also went just a little bit low. It's like, oh, okay, so I have a little bit of pre-ignition push. Okay. And then maybe you're watching the next time I watch the video, and I'm like, hey, all I'm going to do is just watch how my support hand contacts my firing hand, and if they stay together. So I watch the video through. I'm like, okay, let's just see if those two. Yep. Okay, those two are staying together. How about if I watch at the bottom of the trigger guard stays in contact with my support hand, if there's separation there? And so as you watch this video over and over again, what my experience would be, and the experience I've had in class, is you end up picking out all the things that you need to work on, and that's a good place to get that data from. Is that what you were thinking, Tyler, along those lines?
Yeah. At the nitty gritty of this is, I would encourage this person to just change his thinking, change the way he's conceptualizing recoil control. It's not about timing the shot in the way he's thinking of it. It's about making your fundamentals such that it doesn't matter what your splits are. Your fundamentals cause the gun to track that you're going to stack shots no matter if it's a 13, 15, 20, 26. Like, eliminate the oscillation. Don't time that oscillation.
Yes. And like what you said, the timing of the splits then should have nothing to do with the way the sights travel. So ideally, you want the front sight to come right back up, to lift, and to go right back to where it was without a bunch of oscillation or bouncing up and down. When you fire the first shot, you don't want the front sight to go down, to be like dipping. You're pushing into the gun, or you're anticipating recoil. So, I mean, it's very good this guy's paying a lot of attention to what's going on.
Yeah.
That's seriously, that's outstanding. Because most people wouldn't even have the thought to be like, oh, maybe I should, video this or look into this more detail. So.
Yeah, and clearly he's on the right track. It'll require a little tweaking of his thinking about it.
And I would say a lot of reps will show you the issues with your grip. So yeah, video your grip. You watch it a bunch of times. You do, let's say you do it 4 times. You video them all. You look at them. You start to see trends. This is what's going on. Oh, I have too much firing hand pressure. That's why the muzzle oscillates so much. So as opposed to, like you're saying, you try to time it. Instead, we'll just remove the oscillation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Doubles is, I love the doubles drill so much. It seems to be immune to like diminishing returns in a way that other drills aren't. Like there's only so many times you can run accelerator. Just for instance, like eventually you're not learning as much as you were for the first 10 reps or whatever else. But it seems like with doubles, you can just sit there and pour rounds into it, pour a round count into it, and you're still learning. Like, I learned something from every rep of doubles I do.
Yep. So then his last question was, should he basically be training where all of his shots fall into the optimal split time? So essentially, I won't be respecting the targets, trusting that my doubles will be within the A zone of each other at 25 yards. So he's asking, hey, this is the time. Should I try to just make the time, or should I do my own thing and try to speed up? What do you think about that, Tyler?
Well,
or Matt, you want to chime in? You've been awfully quiet.
I don't know. I'm just thinking on it.
It's really the same question. Yeah, there is a target split time, but the focus of your training and the focus of what you're trying to accomplish needs to change. Like, because I still think, even in that part, I still think he's wanting to. There's a magic number.
He wants a number.
He wants a magic number that every time it shows up on the timer, he has achieved a good result. But that it's irrelevant. You got to fix the root problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same answer.
It is. I agree. So yeah, once you perfect the skill, then it doesn't matter what distance the target's at, because your grip will be perfect. And I mean, Ben's grip is outstanding, but I mean, I don't want to speak for you guys, but no matter how good I get, I feel like there's always more work I could do.
Yeah.
That's on everything.
It's kind of a never ending. But grip pays such huge dividends in shooting, for sure.
Yeah.
It's
Everything's based off of that.
Yeah.
Once you have that firing, like the firing hand on the gun, that doesn't change
Mhm.
the entire course of fire. Like even if you're reloading or doing strong hand only, like that grip is there.
Yeah, I believe that. I really think grip is everything.
I would agree. Well, guys, this was another bang up podcast.
Bang Up Podcast.
Good
It
one.
was. It was a good one. Yeah. Well, appreciate you guys so much for coming on. Listeners, if you have a question, send it to my website. Go to bensteger.com. I'd love to hear from you. I think that's all I'm supposed to say. So, bang.